top of the day. This is Esther Davis, and we are so happy you're with us this Friday night. Friday Night Lights, and we have a very, very special guest. We are getting ready for the Democratic National Convention. Could not think of anybody I would rather talk to than Carol Donovan, because she's the former chair of the Dallas County Democratic Party. Please welcome to the Esther Davis Friday Night Lights, Carol Donovan. How in the world are you?
I am doing good. There's a lot of anticipation about this convention.
Well, you're here to straighten us out, get us started, get us rolling, get us to cheer, and then get the spirit high on the Biden and Harris ticket, because we got to win this race. We're going to win this race. That's the attitude that we're going into this season with. So you're the person to start with. And I need to say, how long were you chair of the Dallas County Democrats?
5 years.
5 years. Oh, my gosh. Well, I still remember those days. I remember how effective you were, and I remember how very persuasive and insistent you were during that time. Wow. How do we get started, Carol? What do you want? And I know you're the past chair, but we want to get people started to thinking, acting, and making things happen, because the election is really not that far away. This is the time we have been talking about. We just want to get people out to vote. So what do you want us to do? What should we be doing?
Well, absolutely. And of course, Esther, you and I have both registered to vote, but it is still time for people to register to vote if they're not already registered between now and November. And the next step is voting. No matter who is on the ballot, it is so important to vote. But thirdly, and I'm going to address the question that's on everyone's lips right now, is I believe very strongly that we hold our ground with Joe Biden. He has represented us in government for 42 years. And it's his decision. And if he says he's running, by golly, I'm behind him.
Well, I think he's going to have to run. And I don't have a problem with the age group. I don't think anybody does, because you know what's funny about that, Carol, is that we know from all reports that we have a person turning 65. We have 10,000 people turning 65. The baby boomers have grown up. And then you have the people like Mr. Biden and myself that's over that age group. But we are accustomed to people that are doing extremely well into their 60s, 70s, and 80s. So it's not a big deal.
Well, it's
Why
not a big
making
deal.
it such a big deal?
You know, I think it's just weird that people are talking about how old Biden is, and Trump is just 3 years younger.
Exactly.
You know, frankly, Biden is more physically fit than Trump is.
He really is. He's a lot slimmer. He doesn't have as much fat. But you're right. For a man his age, he and his wife look extraordinarily wonderful, healthy looking. But we're making have you ever seen anything like this before? Have we ever made such No. And then we're going to rule his age over the indictment. What are your thoughts about that? Does that make sense to you?
Well, it doesn't make any sense, and I don't understand, nor do most people understand how somebody who is a convicted felon can be running for president. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. And since there isn't already a rule that says he can't, then we need to make the decision at the ballot box.
Yes, we do. That's our only recourse at the moment, is to make the decision at the ballot box. Well, a couple of things I wanted to ask you about, because I know this is all unprecedented for all of the people that are listening to you. My guest is Carol Donovan, the former chair of the Dallas County Democrats. And she was superb when she was there. We've been friends for a long time. We talked even after her tenure as chair. And you went on to do a bunch of other things, but it's so important that we started this part of our show with Carol Donovan. And I'm talking to my audiences everywhere. It's so important because talk about an action lady. I mean, she rules so politely, so intelligently. I want to talk about some of the things you did. What did you do with precinct chairs? Do we have enough precinct chairs to start this voting process?
Well, we never have enough precinct chairs. So if anybody out there has any interest at all in helping to organize their neighborhood, they need to contact the Dallas County Democratic Party, and they'll be very grateful to have you. Now, most precincts in Dallas do have precinct chairs that can help organize people. And there's also Democratic clubs where
really?
people, yes, there's Democratic clubs in most neighborhoods, I'd say most neighborhoods north of I-30, because in the South, the folks that live south of I-30, they're already organized through their churches and community groups. But in the Democratic Party, they have a website where they list all the different clubs for various neighborhoods, and people can just look right on that website and pick out the club and the contact information.
Well, one of the things that I think about on a daily basis, all of these apartments we're building in Dallas and all of these new homes. And what do you think about, we did at one point have 300 people a day moving into the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Now, the last statistic I saw on that was, now we got more than 1,000 people a week or a day coming into our city. How do we get those people registered to vote? What do we do in our neighborhoods to welcome those people? Not only welcome them to our neighborhood, to our great city, and to voting. How do we do that?
Well, that's where the precinct chairs come in really handy, because they're on target with their neighborhoods. They know who's moving in, and they can greet them. The good precinct chairs greet people in that neighborhood. They get their email addresses. They form a network where they keep them informed. Then there are groups such as like a welcome wagon where you can keep track of groups that are coming in.
Really?
That are coming
okay.
in. That's true. And so then you get those people and the addresses, and then you look up those addresses and determine what precinct they're in.
Wow. We're talking to Carol Donovan, a great, great, great Dallasite in our city, and we're talking about voting. We're not talking about anything else at this point. We're waiting for the Democratic Convention, National Democratic Convention, that's on the forefront right now. And how do we get people to vote? This is not an isolated question for one or two people. It's a question we all should be asking ourselves, and we're going to really pounce on this the next couple of weeks and months for people to just vote. Ask the question. There is no silly question. There's no ridiculous question. Carol, what are some of the things you did? I remember coming to one or two of your meetings with precinct chairs. I'm not a precinct chair, but I did want to write about it. But what were some of the things you were really successful with in our neighborhoods? Give us some ideas.
Well, and I'll tell you, one of the things I'm very, very proud of, Esther, is actually your initiation. You introduced me to journalists in the Dallas Black Press so that I could network with them and keep them informed with the stories about what was going on with the party. While I was chair, we were able to continue to increase the number of Democratic representatives. So out of 14 state representatives, by the time I left office, there were only 2 Republican state representatives in Dallas County.
Wow.
Yes, one's House District 115, where Avery Bishop is running, and the other one is 108, where Liz Ginsburg is running to defeat the Republican Morgan Myers, who shamefully helped spearhead the abortion ban in Texas with no exceptions for women.
No exception for women. And that's another big topic that is being discussed. The Republicans did well, you know what was strange about that? I have to mention one thing about the Republican Party. Why did they find it so convenient to leave that out? They didn't say very much about abortion.
Right. They have found out the hard way that is not a popular issue, the way they have taken their stance, and that women are ticked off. And so Trump has instructed his campaign people to not even mention the reproductive freedom rights. Of course, the Democrats are talking about it up and down, and it's going to be a situation, despite some of the naysayers that we've been hearing from in the last couple of weeks. Women are going to go for Joe Biden, and most any minority is going to go for Joe Biden, and it has been offensive the way Trump has cozied up to the evangelicals, and they're telling people that Trump is the chosen one. Well, I go to church, and I find that very offensive that they would call Trump the chosen one.
I find it very offensive that he would say God after 6 years as a leader of the world's free country. He has never mentioned God's name in anything except during this past week. Now, I admit he possibly had a life-changing experience, but he is not a Christian. We have been shown that over and over and over again.
That's right. Well, it's like the song. Yes, it's like the song that you and I have sung in church, is they will know we are Christians by our love, and he does not show love to anybody but himself.
Well, I've got to get around to a couple of questions because we try to keep these shows to a very, very, very tense, exciting 15 to 20 minutes. Do you really think that America is at a boiling point? I think we're not. I'm actually an optimist anyway, but I don't see us being we're at a burning point. We're divided. Yeah, we are divided because we stopped being friendly. We took up a hostile attitude about everything. I remember when I took you to meet the black journalist. They said, oh, this is Carol Donovan, because you were so warm and friendly. I don't know what they had heard about you. and the part that's very, very important about this time and this moment is that you came over here. You came to us. You didn't really wait for us to come to you. That's really important, is to get out and let people know, all people, that you are interested in what they are doing. My voice has been really giving me a hallelujah time for the last couple of weeks. But I did want to talk about what your thoughts on, are we really as divided as the media, the mainstream media, is pretending that we are? What are you thinking?
I do not believe we're as divided as the mainstream media portrays us. I think a lot of times we see what Congress does, how Congress tries to block what Biden is doing, and they say, oh, okay, we're all divided. But all the rest of us, we're not divided. We're just like, just pass the darn bill. Just do something.
Right. Yeah, pass the bill. And stop filibustering, or whatever that word is that they use. That's right. We just want you to do your job. That's basically, you're there to be concerned about the people and do what the people want done. I had to laugh about that because you're right. You're right. We are not divided.
That's right. And then look at the Texas legislature. They don't really, it's a Republican-dominated legislature, and they're so conservative, but they're not representing us because the majority of Texans did not want that abortion ban. The majority of Texans did not want their anti-gay bills, and the majority of Texans, they're more compassionate than our legislature is when it comes to immigration.
You know, we got to talk about that, Carol. I'm going to ask you to please come back, and we're going to talk about immigration and how it has been so taken out of context. I'm a native
Yes.
Texan, and I really, really, really never wanted to leave Texas. I was offered jobs outside of Texas, but we have always been integrated down here with Hispanics. I can remember Hispanics working on my grandfather's farm years ago when I was a kid, and they would bring and swap corn and peas and things. We are accustomed to this. Native Texans are accustomed to other cultures. And
That's
it
right.
has not been a problem. It has not been a problem. For native Texans out there, you need to speak up, because I know you have been a part of the culture that has been in this state between Mexico and Texas for decades. It's not anything
Yes.
new to us. You got to come
That's
back.
right.
You got to come back, my dear friend, and let's talk about
Hey,
immigration.
any time. Well, and every time you've complimented me, you've said things to me that anybody could say about you and more, Esther Davis. I mean, you're an amazing force to behold.
Well, I have watched forces in my life do things, and it's like, gee, did she really do that? And Carol Donovan is one of them. You know what? I want to make sure I'm spelling your name correctly. Donovan is Donovan.
That's it.
Okay, because I've seen it spelled another way. She is Carol Donovan, the former chair of the Dallas County Democrats. An amazing woman, but she's also doing an awful lot of other things. She's going to come back on our show. Would you believe it's almost 25 minutes we've been talking?
Yes. Time flies,
but it's always fun. We're having fun. We got to go vote. And Carol, thank you. We deeply thank you from the bottom of our heart. She's coming back on this segment of Ester Davis. Thank you, Carol Donovan. You're the greatest.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.